Sagittarius, have you ever felt that something wasn't quite right, but you couldn't put your finger on what it was? Sagittarius, there is someone who, for so many years, has been hiding the truth from you behind sweetness, behind promises that sounded like poetry. But you know what? The universe never allows the truth to stay buried forever. And this time, at the moment you least expected, it intervened. A secret has been exposed, a lie has been unmasked, and a gift is being prepared, one meant only for those who dare to face what's real. So tell me, are you ready to look directly into the thing your soul has always known, but your heart once feared to face? If you feel that something in these words is awakening a truth you've buried deep, leave a comment. I'm ready to see what has been hidden. Because that's not just a message to yourself, it's a signal to the universe, a declaration that you are brave enough now to welcome the light. And now, let me take you into the journey of uncovering what really happened all these years, and why the universe has chosen this exact moment to reveal it all. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply that you silenced your own intuition? Not because you were naive, but because you're a Sagittarius, a sign with the heart of a seeker, a pilgrim of truth, and above all, someone who always chooses to believe in the goodness of others. But that very nobility is also what makes you an easy target for those who are not worthy. And this isn't the first time, is it? I know you've forgiven more times than you can count. Not because you're weak, but because you hoped. You hoped they would change. You hoped love could transform a wandering soul. You hoped that if you were kind enough, honest enough, loving enough, then truth would prevail. But then one day, you woke up with the aching feeling that you've been living too long in a story that wasn't written by you. A story where your trust was used as a tool. And right when you began to whisper the question, is something wrong? That's when the universe began to speak. From an astrological perspective, this is a particularly significant time. Jupiter, your ruling planet Sagittarius, is moving out of a shadow phase and stepping into a new field of light. The truth can no longer be contained. Pluto is also forming intense aspects to your 7th house, the house of intimate relationships. This is a time when connections are tested for their integrity, and if something is built on shaky ground, it will collapse. But do you know what's miraculous? When a lie is finally exposed, it's not a tragic ending, it's a liberation. Truth comes not to punish, but to heal. I once met a Sagittarius woman, around 50 years old. When she received that anonymous call, her hand holding the phone didn't shake, but her eyes filled with tears. Not because she was shocked, but because deep down she had known the truth all along. She had been with a man for nearly 20 years, a man she believed was her soulmate. Every time he broke a promise, she comforted herself, saying, "He's trying." Every time he hurt her, she told herself, love means learning how to forgive. And then one day, a call came in, revealing a truth she had never dared to imagine. He had a parallel life, another family, a different script, a different mask. She sat in silence for hours, no crying, no screaming, just one sentence echoing in her mind. So, I really didn't see anything for 20 years? But you know what? It wasn't that she didn't see. Her soul knew, but her heart wasn't ready. And just like her, you don't need to blame yourself, because love is a form of light, not a mistake. If something in this is awakening an old ache within you, leave a comment. I forgive myself for what I couldn't see back then. Because the first forgiveness you need isn't for the one who deceived you. It's for yourself, the one who loved with all their heart. Astrology teaches us something powerful. When a truth comes to light at the right time, it's a sign from the universe that you're finally strong enough to live without illusions. And now, here's the question for you, Sagittarius. Do you want to keep repeating this cycle? Or are you ready to rewrite the story? With yourself, not the deceiver, as the main character? Let me share with you a personal insight I've gathered from working with thousands of birth charts. Sometimes, the betrayer doesn't show up to destroy you. They appear to help you break open something no one else could ever reveal to you, where your trust truly belongs. They're not here to take away your faith, but to refine it, so it rests in something and someone far more worthy. And now that you've seen someone's true face, you don't need to keep guessing. You no longer need to check their phone, listen for hints, or wrestle with suspicion, because truth, even when it hurts, always leads to freedom. And the universe chose this exact moment to unveil everything. Because this is not the time for you to remain trapped in emotional games. This is the time you were chosen to become the higher version of yourself. If you've ever gone through the shock of discovering a painful truth, leave a comment. I've seen the truth, and I'm still standing. Because that's not just a declaration, it's a message to your soul that you are no longer defined by what broke you. In the end, there's one thing I want you to remember. A pure heart is never something to regret, and a soul that knows how to love is never a loser. And because you were once deceived, because you once believed in the wrong person, you will never repeat that lesson again. Because now, you've become the observer, no longer blind, no longer fragile, but a Sagittarius who has grown, standing in the light, fully aware of who you are. And in the next part, I'll share with you something most people are too afraid to admit. You've forgiven, you've moved on, but why does the wound still linger? We'll go deeper into the fire within you, where truth is not just seen, but transformed into power. And trust me, you won't want to miss that. There's something the world often forgets when standing in front of a Sagittarius. You don't need to be saved, because inside you, there's always been a sacred fire, one that withstands wind, storms, and even betrayal. No one can truly extinguish a Sagittarius, because you were not born just to survive, you were born to shine. You don't live by schemes, you live by ideals. You don't seek safety and control, you find it in spiritual freedom. And it's exactly that makes you one of the bravest souls the universe has ever created. In the Bible, there are those who walk through fire and come out untouched. They are not burned, not because they are stronger than the fire, but because God walks with them. And I believe, if there's anyone who has walked through the fire of pain, betrayal, and a crisis of faith, yet still keeps their eyes clear and their heart unbittered, that someone is you, Sagittarius. You carry within you the energy of Jupiter, the god of expansion, faith, truth, and justice. Jupiter doesn't give you an easy life, but it gives you a spiritual compass. Even when buried under lies and heartbreak, you always find your way back. Not because someone led you, but because the sacred light inside you has never gone out. I once asked a Sagittarius, "How do you forgive what others can't?" She simply smiled and said, "Because I know, if I hold on to bitterness, I'll lose myself, and I've never allowed the world to make me cold." That answer was one of the most deeply human things I've ever heard. It needed no reasoning, no philosophy, just a heart wide enough to respond not with anger, but with forgiveness. And if you're listening now and something in your chest is quietly nodding, then maybe you're not as alone as you think. Leave a message in the comments. I, Sagittarius, choose to trust in divine protection. Because sometimes just one sentence you write can be the strongest affirmation to your soul, that you are still being watched over. And if you can feel that divine shield surrounding you now, hit like as your way of confirming that belief. And share this message so the light you carry doesn't end here, but reaches someone out there who may desperately need the reminder you just received. You know what? This world needs more people like you. Not because you're always right, but because you always search for what's right, even when it costs you something. You believe in justice, but you also believe in grace. You rise from pain, but without carrying vengeance. You look into the eyes of the one who hurt you and still find the strength to say, "I hope you find your own light." You're not someone who forgives easily, but you are someone who understands that forgiveness is part of healing. If someone asked me, what is Sagittarius' weakness? I would say, they hurt when others fail to see the light they've been trying to offer. You don't crave recognition, but you long for someone to truly understand how deeply you've loved. And whether they see it or not, you keep choosing kindness. You don't win by striking back. You win by continuing to love, but now with wisdom. And if you've ever asked yourself, does anyone truly see my effort? Then the answer is yes. The universe sees it, God sees it, and you, the one sitting here quietly enduring the pain, you see it too. Astrology is revealing this truth. Sagittarius is now entering a cycle of inner healing. No more waiting for apologies, no more searching for explanations, only a return to yourself. And that journey, slow, quiet, quiet, sacred, is the most powerful proof that your light has never gone out. You are not someone who was broken. You are someone who is awakening. You've been through enough pain to understand that the only thing you can truly control is not the behavior of others, but the way you keep your heart from turning to stone. And because of that, you haven't just survived the storm. You have become the light that guides others out of it. In the next part, we will open the door to a new level of your journey. Spiritual awakening is not just a state of being. It is a divine invitation that you are finally ready to step into your true calling. You will begin to see that everything you've been through was preparing the path for a much greater destiny that is now drawing near. And you won't want to miss what's coming. Truth doesn't arrive to hurt you. It arrives to end a pain you've silently carried for years. It's not the truth we fear. It's the moment it shatters everything we thought was solid. You know, Sagittarius, I understand what it feels like to stand between two realities. On one side, the beautiful memories you once held like treasure. On the other, a truth that is dry, blunt, and sharp, but so accurate it cannot be denied. You believed that person loved you. You believed what you gave would be honored. You hoped that sincerity would be enough to build a happy ending. And now, you sit face to face with the reality that not everyone loves the way you do. But take a deep breath with me, because I'm about to say something that maybe no one else has had the courage to tell you. When the truth is revealed, it's not a collapse. It's a rebirth. Faith is not born on the easy days. Faith is born on the nights you cry alone and still don't give up. It's born in the moments you are hurt, but still choose to believe in kindness. It's born in the betrayals you survive, and still, you refuse to shut your heart. And if right now your hands are shaking, if you feel empty, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and really listen. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still listening. With a heart that may be scarred, but still beats. You are alive, not to carry suffering with you, but to understand this truth. Love that is real never has to pretend. I used to think forgiveness meant forgetting. But then I learned, forgiveness is when the past no longer controls your present. Forgiveness is not releasing the other person. It is releasing your own soul from the chain. And you, Sagittarius, you who carry the nobility of Jupiter within you, you were not born to be tied down by regret or anger. You were born to expand, to reach beyond, to heal, and to keep spreading your light. If anyone ever made you believe that your kindness was a weakness, let me remind you of something sacred. Gentleness is not helplessness. It is the most divine strength a matured soul can carry. Maybe you no longer need an apology, because the truth has already spoken for itself. And in this very moment, I believe, somewhere in your heart, a door is opening. A quiet but powerful light is rising within you, whispering gently, "You've seen enough, and you've loved enough. Now, you're allowed to walk forward. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because that person didn't destroy you, they awakened you." If these words are touching something in you, leave a mark for yourself in the comments. I choose to heal through truth. And if your heart feels even slightly lighter, send this message out to others who need it by hitting like and sharing this video, because it just might be the key for someone else who's tired in the same way you once were. I know you're strong, but this time, you don't have to prove it anymore. You have the right to be vulnerable. You have the right to cry. You have the right to sigh, step back, and start again, gently, with yourself. You are not a broken being. You are a soul stitching yourself back together with golden thread, one careful stitch at a time. And every time you say, "I still believe in the good," that's one more time you've defeated the darkness. And you know what? Truth, even when it hurts, is always a sacred invitation from the divine. An invitation that says, you no longer have to live in the illusion. You no longer have to shrink to keep what doesn't belong to you. You no longer have to settle for what is unworthy. Truth is grace, because it brings you back to yourself. No more being led by lies. No more sweet dreams that were hollow inside. Only you, and the real light that has been waiting ahead. And in the next part, I'll tell you about the card that is rising very clearly in your energy right now. Judgment. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll continue into that sacred turning point of your soul's journey, where everything begins to transform. the call to awaken, the moment of the soul that is ready to step into a new chapter, a chapter without pity, only faith, and the great mission you were born to fulfill. You've come this far. Don't stop now. There are moments in life when you no longer feel wounded, not because the pain has vanished, but because you are no longer the person who once carried it. I want you to picture this. You're sitting in an old room, a place filled with memories, unfinished stories, and all the lies you once swallowed in silence. You're not crying anymore. You simply look around in stillness and realize you've stayed in this room for far too long. Then a sound rises, not from outside, but from deep within. A call, a pull, a clarity. It's time, it says, not to leave in anger, but to walk out like someone waking from a long sleep. Do you feel it, Sagittarius? That moment is judgment. It doesn't need a card. It doesn't need a vision. It only needs your soul to reach a point where you no longer wish to reclaim what was lost, but instead, you choose to live in truth. You forgave, not because they deserved it, but because you no longer wanted to carry the weight in your heart. You let go, not because you were weak, but because you understood. What was never truly yours can never truly stay. Imagine yourself standing in a field after the rain. No one beside you, just earth, sky, and you. A cool breeze, soft air, and a strange, peaceful realization. I've gone far enough, felt deep enough, hurt long enough, and now I just want to live honestly. Judgment is the moment you step past the ego. You no longer seek to prove. You no longer wish to argue. You no longer chase those who never chose you. Have you ever felt that? Waking up one morning, and the weight on your chest isn't there anymore. You don't know exactly what changed. You only know this: you don't need to force anything anymore. You survived the truth. And now, you choose to live the truth. I've seen so many people stand at the threshold of awakening, only to turn back because they were afraid of losing the familiar. But you, Sagittarius, you weren't born to turn around. You were born to cross the final threshold of your soul. To the place where truth and love are no longer at odds, where freedom and faith no longer contradict each other, where you stand, not needing anyone to validate your worth anymore. Let me know when you're ready for the next step. The road ahead isn't just light, it's liberation, and you're walking it as the person you were always meant to become. If you feel this, even just a part of it, deep inside, leave a comment as a marker on your soul's journey. I am awakening, and I am no longer afraid of the truth. Just one sentence, but it could be the very first step toward a life no longer guided by shadows. And if you sense that someone else might need this light too, please share it, like the flame of a candle that can brighten an entire room. Astrology tells us this. Judgment often appears during the period when Jupiter forms a harmonious trine with your destiny axis. It urges you to leave behind what's outdated, not with a shock, but with a gentle invitation. Live with the truth. Only then will I grant you the miracle. Maybe you've waited for someone to return. Maybe you once thought, if only they understood me more. But now you realize the one who needed to return most was you, returning to the wisdom that only souls who have fallen into the depths can ever truly carry. And you know what? When you rise, quietly, steadily, without resentment, you'll begin to see doors opening that you never even knew were there. Opportunities, guidance, soul-level connections, dreams you once abandoned, all of them, waiting for the version of you that has awakened. You're not someone who is healing. You are someone who has been healed through the truth, no longer fragile, no longer in need of rescue. You are light, born from your own journey. In the next part, we'll talk about the mission that is being entrusted to you. It's not a reward, it's a sacred responsibility, because you are a Sagittarius who has survived, grown, and now it's time to lead. And that is also the moment when your true talent is awakened. Don't leave now, because what's coming is meant just for you. If there's one thing I deeply admire about Sagittarius, it's that you never let a wound define who you are. You may have shattered, you may have lost your way, you may have been pushed to the edge by lies, betrayal, and broken promises. But you didn't stay there. You turned the pit into a mirror for your soul. You turned the desert into a place to strengthen your spirit. And then you stood up, not with fury, not needing witnesses, but because you knew there was still a road ahead of you. You are Sagittarius, and you were born to walk through darkness with fearless eyes. You carry the blood of tireless seekers, souls who never stop searching for higher truth. You are not the zodiac that stays stuck in pain. You are the one who asks, "What can I learn from this wound?" You don't seek revenge through bitterness. You rise by living a life more radiant than ever before. And what sets you apart is not just courage, it's your belief in what's good, even when the world has let you down. You believe that real love still exists. You believe kindness is never wasted. You believe that even a flicker of light can guide lost souls home. And that faith, that honesty, that unwavering idealism is what makes you someone who can never be a victim. Let me know when you're ready for the final ascent. Your mission is waiting, and I'll be right here to walk beside you into the light you've always belonged to. Sagittarius, you are brave in ways most people will never see. You laugh, you stay optimistic, you inspire others. But few know behind that smile is an entire sky that once shattered. You hide your pain like an artist hides the scar beneath the paint. Not because you're pretending to be happy, but because you choose to keep walking, even while stitching yourself back together. And that silent self-healing is your greatest gift. Not everyone can walk through deception and still hold on to trust. Not everyone can fall and rise again with light still shining in their eyes. But you did. You didn't just survive. You were reborn. And this time, you're not seeking the truth. You are the embodiment of it. If this speaks to your soul, leave a sacred affirmation in the comments. I am Sagittarius, and I am reborn through my inner light. Click like if you see yourself in these words, and share this message so that someone else may find their way out of the wound just like you once did. You may have been betrayed, you may have doubted yourself, but you never lost your essence. And that's why you don't need revenge. You only need to live in your light, and the universe will handle the rest. Maybe you don't know how strong you really are, but everything you've endured, that is your proof. Maybe you don't see the full beauty you carry, but the souls you've touched, they remember. Maybe you don't think of yourself as someone special, but the universe knows, God knows, and so do I. You are Sagittarius. No one gave you your power. You forged it through every fall, every awakening, every time you refused to give up. And now, your journey isn't over. Because what's coming is a spiritual sign, a message from destiny, meant only for souls strong enough to hear it. In the next part, I'll share with you a story about a photograph and a curse that nearly landed in your life, but failed. You need to hear it, because only then will you understand. No one can block the light when that light has already chosen to remain inside you. Do you believe someone once tried to trap you with a photo? Not with love, not with trust, but with an energetic manipulation they thought you'd never detect. Maybe you felt something strange. A sudden headache, a wave of exhaustion after speaking to someone, or a recurring dream where invisible eyes surrounded you. You weren't imagining things, because somewhere in the past, someone held a picture of you in their hands with an impure intention. They weren't praying for your well-being, they just didn't want you to move on. They wanted you to come back, not out of love, but because they couldn't bear losing control. But there's one thing they didn't understand. You are Sagittarius. You don't belong to anyone. You are not bound by paper, memory, or what people call spiritual ties. The universe gave you a sacred shield called truth, and any magic built on deception will always collapse when you face it with eyes no longer afraid. I want you to picture this clearly. Someone tried to keep you with the energy of control. They held onto a photo, pretending it was to remember you, but truly it was to tether you. They didn't look at you with love, but with fear of losing their grip. But in the very moment you declared, "I choose myself. I trust the light guiding me," every image, every manipulation, every shadow began to shatter. That spell didn't fail because it was weak, but because you no longer lived in the vibration of fear. If you've ever felt like something unseen was holding you back, and today you feel a little lighter, leave a sign for yourself in the comments. I am protected by true light. It's not just a sentence, it's a sacred seal, a declaration that you are no longer the soul who could be led by darkness. And if this touched you, click like, a small act that can open something big. Not just for you, but for someone who's still searching for the light you just found. Or save this message like an energetic talisman, so that whenever you lose your way, you can return to the light within you. Dearest Sagittarius, you've made it through the deepest layers of this journey, from deception to forgiveness, from pain to awakening, from darkness to divine protection. And now, you no longer need to ask, why did this happen to me? Because you've come to understand, it happened so I could become who I am today. You are someone who carries the light of truth, a light that doesn't fade in the night, but instead shines brighter because of it. You are someone who chooses forgiveness, even when you had every right to be angry. You are someone who stands back up, not to prove anything, but to simply live forward.